I was transported into a novel in which there was a murderer outside the door. It was known in advance that 3 days later, a murderer would start a crazy massacre in the apartment. The murderer left a note in my room indicating that I was his favorite prey. I looked at the shaky door of the room, the rotten wooden windows, the huge wardrobe, and the sewer in the toilet, and called the decoration company. Come on, I'll turn my room into a bank vault. If a murderer can get in, I lose. After entering this story, I tried to call the police or leave the apartment, but failed. It seemed as if there was some invisible force preventing me from doing so. I felt lost for a moment but quickly pulled myself together. After confirming that I had enough money in the bank, I paid money to 5 decoration companies. Since I can't get out, the murderer can't get in. This is a suspenseful novel that is full of twists and turns. No one around the protagonist can be trusted. The murderer is wandering around the apartment with a fierce look in his eyes, and the neighbors on the same floor and the friends who come to play all have their own ulterior motives. The novel stops when the protagonist discovers that everyone is lying. It stops at the most exciting part where the mystery is to be solved. At that time, I couldn't help but scold the author for keeping the audience in suspense. At this moment, as the protagonist, I wish I could get into the author's head and ask him what the truth is. But there is no point in thinking about it now. I can't deal with the murderer, the neighbors, and the friends, but I can deal with this house with a very low safety factor. We went straight to a decoration company for the door and windows. We spent the most money and requested that they all be replaced with the highest grade ones that are only used in bank vaults within 1 day. I am a very suspicious person and have read many thriller and suspense novels. I know that the murderer is likely to disguise himself as a decoration worker and leave surveillance cameras or secret doors when the protagonist is not paying attention. So, I directly hired 5 decoration companies from various places. For example, the gate was built by people from companies A and B, and the employees from C, D, and E were responsible for supervision. Of course, even in this case, I would personally stand guard to prevent people from these 5 companies from doing anything behind my back. When installing the windows, the order was changed again with employees from C and D installing them and A, B, and E supervising. I drew lots to decide the order each time, which reduced the possibility of employees from the 2 companies knowing each other. In this way, the door, windows, floors, ceilings, and sewers in the house were all modified to the specifications I required. The big wardrobe in the bedroom that can hide a person, and the bed with a huge gap from the ground, I threw them all away and put a mattress in place so I can still sleep. Do you think that's enough? Of course not. I called the police not to report that there was a murderer, but to ask them to help find if there were any hidden cameras or people hiding in the room. 2 policemen drove a police car. I checked their police numbers again. After matching them online, I asked them to start the check. After checking that everything was okay, I watched the 2 policemen leave. The house seemed safe, but it was far from safe. This was not enough. I also had someone install a surveillance camera at the door. Friends who often read suspense novels know that surveillance cameras can be easily tampered with. In order to prevent a murderer who might have infiltrated the company from fooling me with a fake video, I looked for 9 surveillance companies, just like I looked for a decoration company. 6 fully hidden cameras are installed at my door. Of course, no one else knows their specific location except the 4 of us, including me. I divided the 9 surveillance companies into 3 groups, with 3 companies in each group, and asked them to install the surveillance. It was also installed by 1 company and supervised by 2 others. Before they installed the work, I deliberately pulled each person's face to prevent previous decoration workers from sneaking in. After all, this is a common routine in suspense novels. I designated the locations and I personally watched the employees install the equipment, sent them off, and then looked for the next company. Each batch of companies would not know the location of the previous batch. I told the second batch of employees where to install the equipment and then hid in the house to monitor them through surveillance. 9 companies installed 6 surveillance cameras. There is no more blind spot in front of my door. Do you think this is safe enough? This is far from enough. What if the murderer tries many times and finds that he cannot enter my house, and in frustration he burns down the apartment? So I found 3 other renovation companies to install fire extinguishing devices on the ceiling. As long as there is a fire, water will be sprayed immediately, but these alone cannot fight a fire in the whole building. So I called the fire department, and all the flammable and explosive items in the apartment were cleared out. I also bought 5 fire extinguishers, 3 gas masks, and a lift lock from the fire department just in case. The fire hazard was eliminated. Do you think that's enough? It's still a long way to go. If I make such a big noise, I will definitely be noticed by those people hiding in the dark. So before the renovation, I put up a cordon in front of the door and hung up a curtain to cover it. Even if they knew I was making preparations, they couldn't do anything. Although those people may not have any bad intentions in other places, they are likely to tamper with me after knowing that I installed smoke alarms and fire extinguishers. If the smoke alarm is triggered, a large amount of water will be released. What if they are blocking the door or window at that time, and the water inside the door is increasing? What if I drown? Don't laugh at me for being overly worried. To survive, you need to have some crazy ideas. So I simply bought 20 oxygen cylinders. Even if my room was really flooded, I could survive for 48 hours with the oxygen cylinders. Now look at what you have now. Do you think it is enough? How is that possible? Although the house was impregnable, there was no food inside. What if the murderer is very patient and blocks me for 10 days or half a month? What will I eat? What if the murderer cut off my water and electricity? What would I drink and how would I play on my tablet? Building a golden cage for yourself and then starving or suffocating yourself to death is the stupidest way to die. 200 kilograms of rice, 200 kilograms of flour, some vegetables and meat, and all kinds of daily necessities for 3 months. Medicines are also necessary and bottled water is also needed. Just in case, I also bought 3 rotten chickens and a dozen water-grown vegetables. Not wanting to bother the delivery worker, I moved back to my room by myself. The room was packed and I was sweating profusely, but I didn't rush to lie down. I turned on the metal infrared detector and scanned the things I bought one by one. What if a murderer sneaks into the supermarket's loading workers or delivery workers? What if those neighbors put something there that shouldn't be when I'm moving? Fortunately, after checking, everything was safe. The solar generator is installed in my second bedroom. Just like the decoration of the front door, I found 4 different electrical companies to help me install the indoor solar generator. As long as I use it sparingly, the solar generator can still supply my daily needs. In case the solar power fails, I bought 3 sets of the same generator according to the installation specifications. After sending the workers away, I checked the generator to make sure there were no special marking spells, monitors or listening devices. After a short rest, I continued to go out. Do you think that I am completely safe just because my house is strong and I have enough food? I am far from safe. Friends who often read suspense novels should know this. The signal jammer is a critical tool. With it, murderers can turn the crime scene into an isolated information vessel. So, I went to the camping store and bought 2 satellite phones. When I had watched the murderer's performance inside the gate, I called the police. In addition, much of the horror in this kind of novel comes from the lack of force. So, a baseball bat, a pig-killing machete, a sickle, a riot shield, and a riot fork. I won't buy an electric saw. Here's some trivia. Many electric saws now have safety protections. Once they come into contact with clothing fragments or human tissue, they will automatically cut off the power, making them useless at critical moments. But these are just in case. I won't use them unless it is a special situation. Do you think this is enough? No. When something happens that science cannot explain, metaphysics is often needed. In case the murderer is not human. I went to 10 temples and Taoist temples and found 10 abbots and Taoist priests. I asked each of them to draw 100 talismans, and collected a total of 1,000 talismans. But this is not enough. If the non-human murderer is not under the jurisdiction of the Chinese area, these talismans may not have much effect. So, I wholesaled 10 kilograms of crosses and garlic. Even if the murderer was a foreigner, I could still smash him to death. I transported all the stuff home and tested it with a detector. Only then did I feel relieved. I found the tablet and downloaded dozens of TV series and thousands of books, especially my favorite, The Legend of Zhen Huan, and my other half felt relieved. Spiritual food is indispensable. After everything was packed up, I closed the curtains, lay down on the mattress and slept for the whole afternoon. The night is getting darker and the murderer is coming. When the alarm rang, I opened my eyes and looked at the headlights above my head, still a little confused. It took me a few seconds to remember that I had entered a suspense novel. I stood up and scratched my head, then found the talismans I had bought in temples and Taoist temples. Security doors, windows, curtains, kitchen, toilet mirror, toilet, mattress, purchased weapons, floor, ceiling. I put talismans on every place I could think of. In order to prevent the Taoist priest or host I found from pretending to be a murderer, I put at least 2 different talismans on everything. This will prevent the possibility of the spell being tampered with. I'm so smart. After doing all this, my stomach, which had been hungry for the whole afternoon, protested. I had packed dozens of different dishes from the deli and put them in the microwave for a few minutes, and then the steaming fish-flavored shredded pork and rice were placed on the table. I swallowed. I was hungry but in no rush to eat. I took out a few test strips from the bag at the pharmacy and tested them to make sure there was nothing wrong with the cooked food before I started eating with confidence. Eating rice with shredded pork and fish flavor and playing The Legend of Zhen Huan at hand, I can't be happier. But a message suddenly popped up on the tablet. My best friend Sophia. Guess where I am now? Girlfriend Sophia. Picture. My best friend Sophia. Jiang, I'm here at your house. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? I paused with my chopsticks, then scrolled past the message and continued eating. Although only half of this short story was updated before I came, based on the previous plot, I could vaguely guess that the protagonist's best friend should not be a human. The best friend saved the protagonist from ruthless murderers twice, saw through many of the neighbors' lies, and pulled the protagonist back from the brink of death. The protagonist trusted her very much, but just when they were hiding in a small space to avoid the murderer. The shadow of her best friend falling on the door suddenly became very scary. She widened her eyes in shock but didn't dare to make a sound. The novel ends here. This time I came in, I can see what the ending of this novel is. No matter if it is a human, a demon or a ghost, it cannot enter my house. Thinking of this, I burped. I was full and ready to watch the show. I had just opened all the surveillance videos when a message from my bestie Sophia popped up again. My best friend Sophia. Evelyn, this is so strange. I just came in and the building manager suddenly locked the door. You don't know how scary it is when the lights downstairs are broken and it's pitch black and a hunchback suddenly appears. My best friend Sophia sent me a photo. The lobby on the first floor was completely dark, with only the security indicator glowing green, and the camera lens pointed at the door. A man in a raincoat, with his back hunched almost at a 90-degree angle, is holding a thick iron chain and putting it around the gate in circles. The man has his back to the camera, facing the glass of the gate, and seems not to notice the person who is secretly taking pictures. You can enlarge the picture and in the reflection of the glass, you can clearly see that the man is staring at Sophia who is taking the photo. I held the phone farther away. Although I had only been here for 3 days, I still recognized the appearance of the downstairs manager. He was obviously a young man, but now he has turned into an old man. It seems that the murderer has sneaked in. My best friend Sophia. I was so scared. I was sending you a message when the building manager suddenly turned around and asked me what I was doing. You don't know how ugly he is. My best friend Sophia. I didn't want to pay any attention to him, but he grabbed my hand. I was so angry that I said I would report him, but he didn't listen. He said I wasn't a resident here and told me to get out. Then he tried to drag me out. I said I was here to see a friend and he asked for my room number. Only after I told him did he let go. My best friend Sophia. I am so pissed off, Evelyn, you must file a complaint against this building manager and have their company fine him. I propped my face up with one hand and watched the messages from my best friend come in one after another, with no intention of replying. My best friend Sophia. It's very strange though. After this person asked for your room number, he suddenly smiled in a disgusting way and said he would personally apologize later and asked us not to report him. He's so ugly and he still has the nerve to make demands. After I posted this, there was no response for a while and I was wondering what this best friend had done to me again. My best friend Sophia. There's something wrong with that guy. He smells so bloody, and I also saw a lot of blood in the building manager's dormitory. Oh no. He found me. Evelyn, open the door and save me. My room is on the 4th floor. As soon as I looked away from my phone, I saw Sophia running upstairs in a panic on the surveillance camera. Perhaps because she was frightened, she ran to my front door in the blink of an eye. Help! A vague voice was heard through the heavy door, followed by a long and thin scream. Through the surveillance, I saw that something on the door seemed to corrode Sophia, causing her to bounce off the door all of a sudden, and at the same time the talisman on the door emitted black smoke. Oh, it seems that my best friend is not a human being after all. The talisman is really useful. I am not afraid that these talismans will become ineffective after a few more times. I still have a sack anyway, so I can just give my bestie a gift package of ashes to ashes. My best friend Sophia? Evelyn, is there something stuck on your door? It hurts so much. Me? No. My best friend Sophia. Then why am I in so much pain? Forget it, let's not talk about this for now. Please open the door for me. That building manager is very problematic. I'm worried about you. Me? No. My best friend Sophia. What? Suddenly there was a loud dong 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 sound downstairs as if someone was chopping bones. My bestie became even more anxious and kept sending me messages. My best friend Sophia. Open the door quickly, there is something wrong with that person, I am so scared, why don't we stay together? Me? Not good. Best friend Sophia. What do you mean? You let me stay alone in a dangerous place? You are not my friend anymore. Me? Not now. If you have time to stay at my door, you might as well find a place to hide. My best friend seemed to be mad at me. Through the surveillance camera, her face was distorted, physically distorted. She stared at my door for a while, then walked away with resentment in her eyes. At the same time, someone suddenly sent a message in the owner's group. 603, what's going on? Who is chopping bones in the middle of the night? Do you have any sense of public morality? The building manager doesn't care. 504, that's right, I don't know what to spend so much money on, it doesn't work at the critical moment. 201, I will not pay the next period of property management fees. The group was full of complaints and threats against the building manager. After a while, the building manager appeared. Building manager, I'm sorry everyone. It's my fault. I've reflected deeply on it. Then he sent a picture. A young man's head was chopped off and placed on the chopping board. The photo was full of blood and a kitchen knife was inserted into the middle of the head. It was indeed a deep reflection. The group was quiet for a moment, then suddenly became agitated. 603, what do you mean a prank? This is too much. I want to complain. 504, at apartment manager you are done. You scared my child. I'm not done with you. 201, fuck, this photo is photoshopped quite realistically. Building manager, I was inconsiderate and now I want to apologize. 603 is the first, 504 is the second, and 201 is the last. I hope everyone is okay with this order. No one spoke in the group. It was so weird that people who saw the group messages were all nervous and felt an unspeakable fear. At this moment, the building manager suddenly sent out another message. Building manager, oh, by the way, I almost forgot about the resident of 404. I'm so sorry for scaring your friend just now. I'll go to your place first. The resident of 404 is me. The building manager's attitude was strange and no one in the group dared to speak. Several owners formed a small group privately. They discussed the latest news in the group with each other, and everyone was in a panic for a while. I didn't feel that way. On the contrary, I was excited because I knew there was no way a murderer could enter my room. I stared at the surveillance camera, waiting for the murderer to come up, when my best friend suddenly sent me a message. My best friend Sophia. Look, I told you that the building manager has a problem, but you still don't believe me. Hurry up and open the door. We'll be safer together. Me? What do you mean? My best friend Sophia. The building manager's words are so strange and he is coming to find you, which means there must be something wrong with him. He also killed someone. How can you be so stupid? Me? Of course I know he has a problem. I'm asking how you knew that. The building manager sent the message in the owner's group, but my best friend Sophia doesn't have an owner's group. The message from my bestie kept showing input is in progress, but no message came in. At this moment, a strange figure wearing a raincoat and hunched over walked up to the fourth floor on the surveillance camera. It was raining outside, and the strange figure was walking with a clattering sound, as if he had been caught in a lot of rain. But through the surveillance camera I could see clearly that the man's raincoat was covered in blood. The sound-activated lights lit up one by one, and the last one to light up was the one in front of my door. The murderer stood very close to the door as if he wanted to look inside through the peephole. Dong dong. Hello, I'm the building manager here to relieve you. Today is my first day at work. I accidentally scared your friend just now. Can you open the door so I can apologize to you? Through the thick door, the murderer's weird tone didn't seem so scary. I took the tablet and walked behind the door. No, I just broke up with my best friend. She's in another room now. You can find one yourself? You won't forgive me? The murderer raised his head, and a face full of wrinkles and scars appeared on the surveillance screen. This face has reached the level of being able to ward off evil spirits. Please open the door. I am in financial difficulty and I cannot afford to lose my job. You are a respectable person and you should understand me. I don't respond. Bang bang bang. The murderer began to knock on the door fiercely. You look down on me too and think I'm ugly, don't you? Don't you? The murderer looked crazy, knocking harder and harder. Suddenly he stopped and put on a sinister smile. You won't open the door for me? I'll open it myself. The door of this apartment is just a broken wooden board anyway. He stepped back a little, raised his right foot and kicked my door hard. The kick was so powerful that the noise could be heard upstairs and downstairs. Dust was falling from the ceiling in the corridor and my door was opened. Hey, the enemy hasn't broken our defense. The murderer was stunned for a rare moment, as if he didn't expect the door to be so strong. He kicked it a few more times in disbelief, but there was not even a scratch on the door. You see, with absolute defense, all attacks are useless. The murderer stood there looking a little frustrated. My best friend is really not here. If you want to find her, go to the empty rooms. She might also be in one of the residents' houses. The murderer tilted his head in confusion. You're not besties. Yes, but we just broke up. Go find her quickly. Don't let her run away. The murderer was silent for a moment, then agreed. Okay, thank you for being so considerate. There were faint sounds of footsteps outside the door, and it seemed that the murderer had gone far away, but I could clearly see through the surveillance that he was standing still. I guessed what he was going to do but didn't say anything. The murderer stopped and slowly approached the peephole. He held his breath. The peephole was completely dark and he could not see anything. But he suddenly laughed. The lights were on in the room but the peephole was dark. What did this mean? Someone was watching him through the peephole. He could already imagine the man inside the door falling to the ground in fear after discovering that the people outside had not left. He moved back so that the person inside the door could see his face clearly. Come on, scream. What was expected did not happen, and a beam of light suddenly shot out from the cat's eye. The murderer was puzzled and put his eyes close to the cat's eye again. A beautiful woman's face appeared in the cat's eye, and the murderer showed an obscene smile, and then his smile froze on his face. In the cat's eye, the woman had a blank expression on her face. Then she actually tore off the skin on her face bit by bit, and the flesh and blood veins under the skin were twitching. Even if the murderer had tortured and killed many people, he was still shocked out of his mind by everything in the cat's eyes. Inside the door, I covered my mouth and laughed until my stomach hurt. In fact, there are no peepholes on my door panel at all. There are already 6 surveillance cameras installed. Why do I need those things? As for why there is a fake cat eye outside the door and why there is a human face in the cat eye, this is all by design on my part. I really like the excitement of hiding in an absolutely safe house that I designed and built, and using some gadgets to provoke danger. The excitement of being in danger is actually the satisfaction of being in a completely safe place, and the provocative feeling of successfully catching the danger. These 3 feelings make me addicted. Some people may think that I am seeking death, but in fact I am not. I'm being mean. The one who commits suicide is himself, but the one who commits baseless anger is others. As for why I can be so cautious and defensive, it is because I have done too many shameless things in the past and attracted a lot of hatred. But there is no way I like the pleasure that comes from being a masochist. Outside the door, the murderer was in shock. He was silent for a while, then looked carefully through the peephole. There was nothing inside, just the decoration of an ordinary home, as if everything just now was just an illusion. He was a little nervous, I don't know what he was thinking, and finally walked away quietly. I curled my lips, it was boring walking away so quickly, too timid. A message popped up in the small group I just added. 603. At 4:04, did the building manager do anything to you? Me, there's something wrong with this building manager. He's wearing a raincoat and his body is covered in blood. The young building manager must have been murdered. After all, there are living people in these buildings. Although I love to watch fun, I cannot watch living people being killed, so I will remind those who can, and the rest depends on these people's luck. 603. 5:04, it's over, call the police immediately. 2:01, help, why am I so unlucky? The group started a heated discussion again. Several people discussed calling the police and how to protect themselves when the police arrived. As a result, they were horrified to find that their cell phones showed no signal. 6:03, fuck. What a ghost. How come I can send WeChat messages but can't call the police? I tried using my cell phone but couldn't get through. I then tried using a satellite phone but still couldn't get through. Information inside the building can be exchanged, but news outside the building cannot be transmitted. This is not something a signal jammer can do. Perhaps the only one who can do this is my best friend. Best friend Sophia. Evelyn, what did you do? Are you still staying in your room? Did you know that the murderer created a group and said you are a female ghost? After reading my bestie's private message, I went to check the small group. Sure enough, the small group that was having a heated discussion just now had now quieted down. My best friend Sophia, something is wrong. The original building manager actually posted a video, but I clearly saw him die. My best friend sent me a screenshot and a video. The person in the video is the young building manager. He is wearing casual clothes and explaining to everyone that there is a new building manager at work today and the owners can open the door and get familiar with the new building manager. The screenshots were of a small group chat between the murderer and other property owners, in which the murderer and the property owners analyzed the current strange situation in the building, as well as the horrifying scenes seen through the cat's eye. The owners went from being skeptical and unbelieving at first to gradually finding no reason to refute the murderer's statements. Finally, they panicked and turned to the murderer for help. The last message in the screenshot was sent by the murderer. He was going to find the resident of room 603, and then the two of them would come to my house together to find out what happened. I looked at the time and realized it was probably too late to remind him now. Best friend Sophia. This murderer is too cunning. Evelyn, it's safer for us to stay together. I'll go find you. Please open the door quickly. Now is not the time to lose your temper. Me? Why? My best friend Sophia. Why? Isn't it obvious? Why are you so stupid? Me? I mean, how come you know the news in that small group and you also know the news in the owner group just now? The other side fell silent again. At this time, a message suddenly popped up in the owner group. Building manager. I have found the owner of 603. There is no problem. Don't worry. I will check them one by one. 603. Yes, this building manager is very good. Everyone can rest assured. 504. Okay. 201 received. After seeing these messages, I am very sure that the owner of 603 has been harmed. Friends who often read horror novels should know that characters whose tone changes suddenly like this are most likely in danger and are impersonated by the murderer with a mobile phone. However, my eyes fell on the news of the other two residents, and the tone of these two people suddenly changed. Could it be that they have been killed by mine good ghost honey? Just as this thought came to my mind, a faint shout suddenly came from outside the door. Evelyn, I'm Sophia. Please open the door, I'm here to protect you, don't be afraid. Even through the heavy door, Sophia's voice still exuded a chilling tone. I stood up and looked around the room. Every spot had been taken care of by my talismans, so there shouldn't be any big problems. I sat back down with relief, then suddenly stopped moving. No, there is one place I forgot. The sound outside the door gradually became resentful, and messages from the owner's group kept popping up. Building manager. At 504 we are already at your door. Please open the door quickly so that I can check it once so that everyone can feel at ease. 603. At 504 yes, please open the door, we are already at your door. Building manager. Don't reply. It's okay. I have the key to the whole building. 603 That's great. The information stopped here for a few minutes and then more messages popped up. Building manager. What happened? Who killed 504? 603. Who killed 504? 603. Who killed 504? 603. Who killed 504? From the 4 messages in a row, it can be seen that the murderer is already very panicked. 201. How could this happen? He was just chatting with me. Building manager. At 201 Don't move, we'll come find you right away, this is so weird. 603. This is so strange. Who is it? Who is it? It stopped for a few more minutes. Building manager. How could this happen? How could 201 die? Who killed her? 603. At 404, did you kill 504 and 201? Did you? No, that's not right. You don't stand a chance. In just a few minutes, 504 and 201 were both dead, but they were still sending messages just now. These people were obviously not murderers after all, he must be crazy now. Outside the door, Sophia suddenly laughed, long and eerie. Open the door, Evelyn, didn't you say we should be good friends for life? I ignored the ghost outside the door and calculated the time. Sure enough, I saw the murderer covered in blood at the stairs. He rushed towards my room quickly, and the ghost Sophia also noticed it. She dodged and disappeared from the surveillance video. I sighed softly, thinking that I could still see the murderer fighting Sadako. You are playing tricks, aren't you? You were the one who made the cat's eye. You also killed people in 504 and 201 when I went to 603. Who are you? Did you know I would come? Answer me. The murderer kept knocking on the door with the handle of the machete, which was still dripping with blood, and the noise became louder and louder. You won't tell me? It doesn't matter. As long as we go in and pry your mouth open, we'll know everything. As he said this, the murderer began to attack the door of my bank's vault, kicking and slashing with a knife. There was no change at all. In the surveillance video, the murderer was so tired that his hands were shaking. Inside the door, I was so happy with what I saw that I opened a bottle of iced Coca-Cola. Just like the story of the 3 little pigs building a house, I am the 3rd little pig hiding in the brick house. No matter how hard the big bad wolf tries, he can't get into my house. Only those who have experienced this kind of absolute safety can understand the satisfaction and comfort it brings. The murderer obviously realized that this was not going to work, and a perverted smile appeared on his face. Do you think I can't get in like this? There are always holes in the windows, sewers, and ceilings. The murderer quickly disappeared from the surveillance video. I was walking around the house with my iced cola, feeling a little excited. Which one would he choose first? However, no matter which one he chooses, he will not succeed in the end. There was a noise coming from the toilet sewer, and I immediately rushed to the toilet. Did I choose the sewer first? The toilet sewer made a few clanging sounds, but there was no change. Finally, the murderer knocked on the sewer hard as if to vent his anger, and the toilet became quiet again. I shook the coke and walked out of the bathroom. There is a problem with the sewer in this apartment, and it is very likely that someone with ulterior motives could take advantage of it and climb into the owner's house. However, these hidden dangers were resolved on the first day I came here. Then the ceiling started to ding-dong again, but of course the murderer still hadn't succeeded. Finally I came to the window. A rope was hung from the upper floor and the murderer slowly climbed down. After seeing me, he was stunned for a moment, and then spoke with an arrogant expression. It was raining outside through the bulletproof soundproof window, and I could only understand what he said by listening to his lip movements. Wait. The murderer was indeed very skilled. He could smash my window loudly even while hanging in the air. It just looked scary. There wasn't even a scratch on my window. The murderer looked frustrated and I couldn't hold back the smile on my face anymore, so I pointed at him outside the window and laughed. The murderer's face turned livid. He looked at me for a while, took out a lighter from his pocket and smiled uglily. He thought he would see me panicking, but he was disappointed. My smile remained unchanged and I even burped. The murderer tightly grasped the lighter and tried to climb up, but when he looked up, his movements paused and his expression froze, as if there was something extremely terrifying up there. Then the rope in his hand loosened and he fell downstairs in an instant. In the blink of an eye, the ground downstairs was stained red with blood, which flowed everywhere with the rain. I took a look and then looked away. I almost forgot that I have a ghost best friend. The faint ghost voice drifted closer from afar, carrying with it a frightening and ethereal feeling. Evelyn, open the door. Everything is fine. Let's go call the police together. Open the door. Evelyn, I have dealt with all of them. You are the only one left. Don't be afraid. Evelyn, you should trust me. I won't hurt you. Sophia continued to call me back and I tried the satellite phone several times but still couldn't get out. It seemed that I could only get out after getting rid of Sophia. But why should I go out? Anyway, there are enough things in this room to keep me alive for a long time, so I might as well just lie down. I lay back on the mat, found my favorite variety show, and watched it with great interest, accompanied by Sophia's screams. I don't know how long it took, but Sophia's voice was filled with deep resentment. Evelyn, I really like you as a friend, but you treat me like this, so I have no choice but to force my way in. The door panel made a hissing sound as if it was scratched by nails. I immediately got goosebumps all over my body, and the talisman on the door began to turn black. I put down the show in my hand, took a sack of spells and sat at the door waiting. When Sophia finished a spell with great effort, I immediately replaced it with another one. We were in a stalemate for an hour. The black energy on Sophia's body dissipated a lot, but I still had a sack of talismans. Sophia's voice became much weaker. Humph, do you think those broken talismans can stop me? Do you think I can only go through the main door? Let me tell you, I can enter any place in your house that is not covered with talismans. Evelyn, I'll come to you right away. After saying this, Sophia's figure disappeared from the surveillance camera. At the same time, the talisman on the window emitted black smoke, and with a scream, the talisman on the bathroom mirror emitted black smoke. I stood in the room, holding a sack of talismans in my hand, watching the black smoke coming out from every corner of the room from time to time. 2 hours later, Sophia appeared on the surveillance screen again. She had become much weaker and had a vicious expression. Damn it, how come you have so many talismans at home? Sophia's face no longer had the sinister look of a ghost. She was jumping around in frustration on the surveillance camera. Then she stopped and stared at the door as if she had thought of something, with a smug smile on her face. Even if you have the talisman, there is one place you will never... She muttered to herself. I only have one chance, I must take you away. I was watching the surveillance video, and before I could hear Sophia's words clearly, I felt a flash before my eyes, and then the talisman on my forehead turned to ashes, and at the same time, a shrill scream rang in my ears. You bastard, why are you still sticking talismans on your forehead? With a puff, the eerie atmosphere disappeared. I tried calling the police and was able to get through. I wiped the dust off my forehead and the talismans on my body began to rustle. Fortunately, when I checked whether all the talismans in the room were affixed, I found that I was the only one who had escaped the net in this room. Everything was affixed with talismans, so how could they forget about me, a living person? When dealing with metaphysical issues, one needs to have unconventional thinking patterns. The rain stopped and alarm bells rang outside. I took the ice cream and spread it leisurely on the mattress. Ding. System detection completed. The apartment has been cleared. Number of people who cleared the level, 1/1. Level 100, Olivia. Mental strength, 100. Health, 100. Complete a game with full score. Get special props. Desperate apartment building, unlock 1. Legend has it that the guards are ghost killer unlocked. Clearance reward, storage backpack. Full score clearance reward, not selected. Hashtag next level, a life of luxury hashtag. A series of electronic sounds suddenly rang in my mind, the picture in front of my eyes became blurry and distorted, and the Coke bottle fell to the ground with a clang. My eyes went dark, rolled back, and I passed out.